They were 5 friends: Sid, Alex, Steve, Mike, and Alia, bound together by years of laughter, memories, and mischief. On a humid August afternoon, they met at the local community pool, the kind where the tiles glisten under soft sunlight and every splash echoes with nostalgia. Nothing about that day hinted at horror. They swam, joked, and let the water carry their cares away. But then, something rippled, not in the pool, but in the air. It was subtle, like heat haze bending light, until suddenly everything shifted. The world blinked. In a flash, the sky darkened. The water turned from warm to cold, shockingly cold. Oily. Still, the pool's clear blue tiles were now cracked, mottled with grime and moss. Rusted chairs lay overturned. The sky above wasn't the sky at all. A swirling mass of ash and cloud hovered like an open wound. It was silent, deadly silent. And then came the worst part. They couldn't move. Paralyzed, floating like discarded mannequins, they were trapped in the frigid water, only their eyes able to shift. Minutes passed, or hours. Their minds screamed. But then, just as abruptly, they were freed. Limbs returned. Breath surged. Panic set in. They scrambled to the edge, dragged themselves out. But there was no safety. The changing room door now led into a tunnel, long, damp, and flickering with an unnatural light. Its floor was not tile, but wet earth. The air was thick, rank, sour. No sound of the world remained. Only the occasional drip of unseen water. They screamed, hoping to wake up. They didn't. There was no choice. Together, they entered. The tunnel twisted unnaturally, defying sense and space. The walls glistened with moisture, pulsing faintly as if something alive breathed beneath the surface. Faint whispers echoed, unintelligible but urgent. As they walked, fear hardened into something colder, dread. The tunnel didn't lead to a building, but to a cliffside suspended in nowhere. Below, an endless black ocean churned without wind. There was no moon, no stars, only darkness. And in that darkness, something moved. Huge, distant, watching. They turned back, but the tunnel was gone. No entrance, no exit. Only the cliff, the sea, and a narrow, muddy path. They followed it. They passed through forests where trees had no leaves. Only soft white flesh that beat like hearts. Statues stood in the muck, their faces smeared as though scrubbed from existence, weeping blood that hissed as it hit the soil. The deeper they went, the more the world felt like a dream decaying. The laws of reality unraveled. Then came the water rooms, places where the floor melted into still, black liquid. But these pools didn't reflect reality. They showed twisted versions of the friends, dead, screaming, broken. Steve lingered at one reflection, staring too long. Then he vanished. No sound, no struggle, just a wet crack. They turned, and he was gone. A red mist floated where he'd stood. Panic bloomed. Alex froze, shaking. Mike wanted to run. Sid forced himself to lead. Alia, quiet, pale, kept moving forward. They reached a bridge made of bones stretched across a chasm filled with reaching hands. The sky above whispered with voices. Each of them heard something different. A lost friend, a loved one, their own voice. The madness pulled at their sanity. Mike leaned over the edge, whispering, "It's calling me home." Sid slapped him back to reality. They pressed on. And then, in the middle of that impossible nowhere, stood the hotel. Old, towering, covered in vines that writhed. Its crooked sign read, Room 21. The hotel loomed like a decaying monument. Vines slithered over its cracked windows. Its front door hung half open, as if waiting. Inside, the air was heavy, thick with rot and something older. Every step echoed like a heartbeat. The walls bled. Doors led to looping hallways. Mirrors didn't reflect reality. They showed the friends lost, screaming, dead, or missing parts of themselves. In one room, they found a photo of Steve, taken hours before he disappeared. The hotel wanted them to remember. They finally reached it. Room 21. The door had no handle, just a deep black slot. Alia's hand trembled. The others stood frozen. Mike stepped forward. "Maybe it needs a key," he whispered. Sid's eyes narrowed. "That's not for a key." Something inside them all knew. That hole was waiting for flesh. Alia didn't hesitate. Slowly, shaking, she slipped her hand into the slot. Click. The door groaned open. A corridor stretched beyond. Too far. Too wrong. The walls shifted like skin. At the end, an altar. And above it, a presence. Vast. Faceless. Alive. Floating. Breathing. Watching. It had no mouth, but they all heard it. A trade. A life. For freedom. Panic exploded. Mike volunteered. Sid shouted no. Alex stood frozen, eyes empty. But Alia, wounded, pale, resolute, stepped forward. "It has to be me," she whispered. "I can't go on. But you must." Sid begged her not to. Mike sobbed. But Alia just smiled. Weak. Brave. Tears in her eyes. She stepped onto the altar. It shimmered, then cracked like glass. And she was gone. No scream. No sound. Only silence. Then the room shattered, and they fell. Through blackness. Light. Screaming air. And then, sunlight. They awoke to warmth. Sid, Mike, and Alex floated in the same pool they'd started in. Sunlit, shallow, familiar. Laughter echoed from nearby kids. The sky above was a soft blue, the same as before. It was as if nothing had happened. No darkness. No tunnel. No room 21. The others around them laughed and splashed, unaware. Time hadn't passed, but something had changed. The three of them climbed out of the water slowly. No words were exchanged. Their bodies felt light, but their hearts heavy. Sid's eyes scanned the crowd. No Steve. No Alia. They were truly gone. Yet the world acted like they had never existed. They sat on the edge of the pool, silent, dripping, stunned. Because they remembered everything. The oily water. The hands beneath the bridge. The altar. The thing above it. The whispers in the wind. The laughter around them felt fake now, hollow. Sid stared at the water. His reflection looked back. Then he looked down. His heart stopped. His shadow was gone. Mike followed his gaze and stepped back in horror. "Sid, your shadow," he whispered. Alex didn't move. He couldn't. Sid stood, slowly, staring at the spot where his shadow should have been. The sunlight hit him clearly. It wasn't an illusion. There was nothing. Behind them, the pool rippled, though no one had entered. Then came the smallest sound. A bubble. A blink beneath the surface. Something watching. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. They knew what it meant. It wasn't over. Room 21 hadn't let go. And whatever followed them back wasn't finished.